Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Contrary to Popular Wrestling. My name is James Southard. I am joined by Carmine Despirito. Carmine, it has been, almost 2 months now since we've been gone. We've been dealing with freak October ice storms in Oklahoma, technical issues. It's been one thing after another, but we are finally back on the Contrary to Popular Wrestling podcast. What does it feel like to be back?
Happy 2021. Man, things were kind of shaky there. I don't know if we're going to make it. You know what I mean? We made it. It's a new year. Folks, we're going to get this train back on track. I have a lot of ideas, a lot of different topics coming up that you're going to be excited about, and we'll be talking about that at the end of today's episode. But today, James, we've got a great guest, and, hey, let's be transparent here with the listeners. This is actually the second time that we interviewed him.
Indeed. We mentioned technical difficulties. We've had audio go missing, files get corrupted, so we did have to record a second time with our good friend Charley Norris, a trainee of Eddie Sharkey. We wanted to share his story with you, not only of his career and who he is, but more importantly, we talked about a very controversial subject. He sued WCW for racial discrimination and won. It's a fascinating story, Carmine. I'm really glad that Charley reached out and wanted to talk to us, and I'm glad you got him scheduled to talk to us here today.
Well, I'll tell you what, he is an unbelievable human being. I'm so proud to know this guy. Seriously. I can't say enough about Charley Norris. And of course, hey, he belongs to the Eddie Sharkey family. Any friend of Eddie Sharkey's is a friend of mine.
It's true, those Minnesota guys, they're just great people. You can't say enough for people like Eddie Sharkey and Charley Norris. And we get to talk about that with Charley a little bit towards the end of the interview, and we hope you guys stick around and enjoy that. But before we get to the interview, we have to get our plugs out of the way. Of course, you are already listening to us either on YouTube, where you're seeing the video that goes along with this episode, or you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, you name it, we're on there. So be sure and subscribe to us on those platforms and either leave comments, thumbs up, 5-star reviews. It helps us out a bunch. If you want to be in contact with us, you could reach out to us on Facebook, facebook.com/contrarypod, as well as sending us an email at our email, contrarypod@gmail.com, contrarypod@gmail.com. Now, without further ado, let's kick it off to Minnesota's own Charley Norris.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest, he is a former trainee of the great Eddie Sharkey, who we've had here on the program many a time. A long-time star of Midwest wrestling, especially in the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. And also, he was a standout, a star, if you will, with World Championship Wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, Mr. Charley Norris.
Mr. Charley Thunderblood Norris is here in the house, baby.
Right on, my man. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the podcast. We want to cover some stuff with you. God, let's take it from the beginning. It would only be natural to start there. How you broke in the business. And, of course, you were trained by Eddie Sharkey, but can you talk about your very beginnings?
I got introduced to Eddie Sharkey by a friend, and he liked me. He seen me playing basketball, and I was dunking it and just dunking it, and he seen I was very athletic. He said, I want you to come to... We had a bar out here called George's in Fridley where they weren't drawing very well. 30 people, whatever. He said, come on down. I was scared to go referee. I didn't know what the hell... I didn't know nothing about wrestling. I was trying to study referees. And then he said, he came back again. And he said, come on down to the camp, ride with me. And so I went over there, and I was bumping the first day in camp. I was bumping, man. I was a natural. I watched pro wrestling my whole life. I knew I was going to do it, and I focused on it, and I put some muscle on, and I did it, and I didn't train that long before I had my first match, actually. I was really really stiff, with this kid called Matt Derringer. We drew 800 people at the American Indian Center in Minneapolis for my debut, and I was scared to death. I was hiding from Eddie Sharkey, man. So I got a big pop my first match, and I was scared, man. Did really good. Brad Ringers was there, the Baron, Wally Carbo showed up, the great Wally Carbo. And, he took me under his wing a little bit, and I was like his chauffeur, and he was so knowledgeable. He took me to WWF shows, introduced me to everybody, and I still went to camp every day and just trained after work and trained hard. And me and J.W. Storm, Sean Waltman showed up, a little skinny kid from Florida who, we knew he was going to do something because he was really good, tough kid, man. And there was about 20 of us, but it got thinned out. Sharky sends people out, stiff, and there was like 6 guys that left. J.W. Storm was there. He got a shot. Me and him had a tryout in Atlanta. Ole liked him and me, and we went down and had a tryout, and I got hired after that. I was in the business for less than a year. I had a tryout with WWF, and still I wasn't ready, man. I wasn't ready. Like 10 months in the business only. I didn't know shit. And I was sitting with the enhancement guys in the other locker room, and here comes Road Warrior Animal. He brought me in the other dressing room with Hulk Hogan and everybody in there, Kerry Von Erich and Roddy Piper and all these guys, Kurt Hennig. I was sitting between the damn Road Warriors. I was like, I was just watching these guys a couple of weeks ago on TV, and I was starstruck, man. Everybody's really good to me. Hulk Hogan, everybody welcoming. I did pretty good. I wrestled. Who did I wrestle that time? Brooklyn Brawler, I think. And he was mad because he had to put me over. I'm tired of putting these Indians over, he said. But he did really good. I was still greener than hell. But he did really good. Lombardi worked his ass up for me, bumped for me, So then I didn't hear nothing from him. I wasn't on roids or nothing at the time. That was kind of the roid era. And I didn't want to do roids. So I would have been 350 pounds, And I was already 280, 270, I didn't hear from him. And then the movie Dances with Wolves came out. And Ed said, you got to really train hard now. You're going to get calls from all over. And he wasn't shitting me. So anyways, that's pretty much it right there. And about a year and a half in the business, Ole Anderson shows up, and he comes to a show and sees me. And I killed it that night, man. Oh, man, I had a good match. I hate to,
What year was that, Charlie?
Late 91. I didn't hear from Ole for a while. In May, I heard from him. He called me up. He was like, hey, Ole, you get on a plane tomorrow and come to center stage. Your ticket's in the mail. Man, I went down there and worked with Rip Rogers, and he did pretty good for me. And I got hired. He said, I want you to come back. I'll call you. So a couple weeks later, he called me, and I went to Disneyland. And by then, I was pretty much ready because we were selling out at George's over there in Fridley. Really fun place to wrestle. We had a little TV program here in the cities, and then we got a show on some reservations. Drawing really well, getting good guarantees, and I was making $250 a night, in main eventing off the bat. Working with Soul Dad Ustinov, T. Joe Khan, and I was still learning. You always learn. You never, you stop. And I was still green. We didn't have that many matches, so I started getting a hold of contacts at casinos, reservations, and there was no Indian wrestler here in Minnesota, and I started getting pretty popular, and I was like, damn, man, people want my autograph. You kidding me? So it was so fast, I just had to catch up. So, right. Yeah, I went down there. I got hired in Atlanta and went down there. And Ole gave me a small guarantee of $800 a week, which, I was probably making almost that much a year working and wrestling and working for Greyhound. And I was ready then. I was rocking. I was in shape. I was working on that Brad Reagan's camp with Masa Saito and Brad and Kurt Hennig. And Laurinaitis was there. Hawk would be there. Hawk wouldn't get in the ring, but Kurt Hennig was there really helping me a lot. Just little things. I did pretty good that first match. Who did I wrestle again? I don't know. But anyways, Russ was a really good little tough kid. He bumped his ass off for me. I did everything, man. Leg drop, 2 head. I did everything. Flying chop. Tried to change up my finish every match, And then I worked with Max Payne at center stage, and then I really got a push. And Dusty liked it. Dusty said, "Good, baby. That was good, baby." And Ole liked it, and Max put me over good. And Max was a little snug in there. I think he was kind of mad, but he put me over good. And then he walked out of the match, and left the match. And Max is a big dude, man. You ever meet Max Payne? He's like 6'8",
Oh, yeah.
4'3".
Huge.
He's a big dude. I love Max. He left, and they set up next week for a lumberjack match with Paul Orndorff, Ricky Steamboat, everybody around the ring, Tex, Shanghai, and I don't know who else. Everybody was there anyways. I can't find that match anyways. I think Vince owns the rights to that now. All my good matches Vince owns. Then I got a good push, and then I kept getting a good push, and then all of a sudden I was at Disney Studios, and Eric Bischoff, I went into the studios and said, thank you, everybody, thank you, and thank all the agents and everybody. I think Kevin Sullivan was there. I don't remember. Grizzly Smith was one of the agents. I don't know who else was on there. Oh, Blackjack Mulligan, who was wonderful to me. Wonderful guy, man. What a good heart. He was teaching me little bitty things at the camp, and then it's like Dallas Page was there at the camp. He was like running the show there. And Buddy Lee Parker was screaming next to my face like I'm in the Marines, and Mike Winter, jobbers, fucking jabronis, screaming inches from my face, do 500 squats. I played college basketball, man. My knees were already halfway fried. I couldn't do 700, 500, 700 squats, man. I said, I can't do this. Is like the fucking Marines. I might as well join the fucking Marines, man. I just came from Brand Reagan School. Every day they kept taking the heart out of me, calling me, hey, Indian, hey, Chief, all these guys. And they don't know any better. They don't know about Native Americans. We're just what they educated on TV from F Troop and all that shit. Then Greg Gagne showed up at the camp. He trying to teach me how to dance. So I did his dumb dancer. That was embarrassing. I said, I'm not doing this dance. God. Yeah, it was fucking horrible. A nightmare. I was sitting in the jacuzzi that night with Dory Funk and his wonderful wife, Marty, and I was talking to them. I wanted to go to All Japan. I would fit in there, man. And Johnny Ace was booking. Dory Funk said, give Johnny Ace a call. Send him my tapes. I sent all selling. I didn't show him no offense, all selling,
Right.
Just to show him that I could do it. I was big and I could fit right. I like that kind of work with Gordy and Hanson and them guys. I wanted to work with those guys, with Doc. I wanted to work that kind of style, and you could see I was kind of aggressive in my matches. But I'm a feather out there, man. So then I said, "Can I wear my headdress?" And they said, "No, we don't want your Eric Bischoff. No, we don't want your headdress." And I'm like, "Why?" I always rocked my headdress, man.
Right.
And I'm like, no, we can't do that. And I felt like someone, the Stooges, Eric Watts, he was a stooge, and I was on the road with him. I know Dallas Page. I love, everybody says he was the greatest or whatever. I just want to tell you what I seen when I went to see Bischoff at his office, and Dallas Page was like, he was sitting there with a big encyclopedia of who he's going to beat and how he's going to keep stepping up to everybody. He was Brad Armstrong first, Z-Man, who hated that shit. He said, man, this guy's got me every move I'm going to do in there, move for move.
Wow.
And, good for Dallas. He had that power, he got that power, and he just was powerful, he's like, Diamond Dallas Page, and Jake really helped him a lot, and it was I just felt things melting. I was like, it was melting, man. And he wouldn't honor my contract. What I was supposed to get a raise. No, he said, we're not honoring Ole's contract. I said, here's my contract right here. Bischoff said, we're not honoring Ole's stuff. I'm like, this ain't Ole's stuff. This ain't you. This is Ted Turner. So I was supposed to get a bump up to $1,500. I didn't deserve $1 million. If I made $80,000, I'm cool. They were giving contracts to Eric Watts. His dad gave him big contracts, and I don't care. He's the shit. And he was the shit. I had to team up with him. He told Greg Gagne that I was drunk every night, smoking weed. Eric Watts even told me, we were traveling together one time, he said, Chief, I fucking hated you when I seen your name on the Disney Studio booking sheet. He said, I was like, why? I said, it ain't my fault. You're the shit. So, and people would boo him, man. I felt bad for him. In Indiana, we went on a little thing up there in Bloomington. It was drawing pretty good. Bill Dundee was the booker, and they would boo Eric Watts, and I'd come in the ring, and they'd go crazy for me, I know how to work the crowd. I always work the crowd, watch some of my stuff,
Sure. And
sure.
So how much did the contract start off at?
$800. And I was supposed to get a bump every 3 months to $1,500.
Every 3 months. I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Then, I started, then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. I had a bad match with Steve Austin on TV, and that was it. Zbyszko come up. He said, you really fucked up today. I'm like, thank you, Larry Zbyszko, for the encouragement. And he didn't like that, So fuck him. Fuck Larry Zbyszko. He's a cocky motherfucker. My mom's going to listen to this. I got to watch my swearing, man. I'm sorry. She's going to listen. Anyway, yeah, and then after that, I worked with the Equalizer on the road, Max Payne on the road, and Max was good to work with. We had a lot of fun. And the Equalizer, oh, my God, it was like working with a big bag of cement. You know, it was horrible. Like, I don't know how many, like 2 tours with him. He's a nice guy, you know, really cool dude. I used to tease him. He looked like the goon from Goon Island on Popeye. He just laughed, you know, big old nice guy. But he was hard to work with, man. Oh, my God, it was hard. Harley was there. I was riding with Harley, and, you know, 10 miles an hour on Big Mountain in West Virginia somewhere. And Paul Lerner says, Bubba, you're crazy riding with Harley. I'm like, I know, man. So, anyway, good memories there. And then I had to work with Equalizer. And then Bill Dundee, going back to Indiana now, Bill Dundee, I'm going over my match with Texans Shanghai. I was teaming with, I don't know, one of them Cole brothers, and he fucking wanted to get the hot tag and beat everybody up and be the star. No pop at all. So I sold my ass off. Me and Texans Shanghai worked good together, man. Fit like a glove. We're all the same size. So I'm standing there talking to Texans Shanghai, big locker room, all the heels and babies, and Bill Dundee comes up to me and he said, "Hey, Indian, what are you doing over here talking to the heels? Ain't you know how to kayfabe?" I was like, "What?" I said, "Everybody's talking to everybody in here, man. There's nobody's fans in here." "Well, I just said you can't come over here." You know, he was the agent on the road. Rip Rogers was some kind of there working. He's a stooge too, a known stooge. He just screamed at me. I'm like, what the fuck, man? And he fined me $100 for being late, and all. You know, the other guys I was with didn't get fined, man. You know, I didn't care, shit. And I just wanted to have a good match and be, you know, good. You know, man, I was like, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, fuck, man, this guy's racist as a motherfucker, man. And I wanted to stuff him in one of those lockers there and lock him in there. End of the tour, end of the night, we rocked it again. I really rocked it. I was fighting, and Eric Bischoff Shanghai took such good care of me. They said, "Stay in here. Don't tag that motherfucker in." Man, we rocked it. We really... And then Bill comes up to me, he said, "You know, he must have felt bad." He said, "You know, you had a good match tonight, Chief. You did really good." I think he was kind of apologizing. "Thank you, Bill. Thank you very much." And I was going to tell him, that was so unnecessary what you did. It's just taking the heart out of me every time. We'd go, every time them guys, I mean, stooges, man, and jabronis in the locker room. I'm like, I can't believe this. I can't believe how many times my back was stabbed, man. I mean, I did the job for Austin. I did the job for Regal. Had a real decent match with Steve Regal. He liked it. He thanked me. It was a good match. Steve Regal's a hell of a worker, man. Oh, man, he's smooth. And I didn't care. I did the job for him. And, you know, Bill Dundee was his manager. And he put me over really good. And I could have been a little more aggressive in that match. But I just listened to Steve, you know. I worked with Benoit on a couple tours. Bobby Eaton. Oh, it was wonderful when Ole and Dusty were booking, man. And then when Eric Bischoff took over, that was it for me. I was jobbing with the Nasty Boys. Eric Watts is my partner. And I was jobbing in 3 minutes to the Nasty Boys 5 minutes. And they gave me everything they could because the Nasty Boys liked me. You know, they really did. They seen I could work in the ring, a good feel. They hated Eric Watts, and they'd chain his bags to the pipes. And, you know, he got ripped so bad because of his contract. And they didn't like him. You know, a lot of the boys, the real boys didn't like him. There was like a little clique with him and Dallas Page. But yeah, I mean, it's just constantly stooging me off. And I knew it. You know, I got that intuition. I know, I can feel.
Right.
You know, I don't care about Eric Watts. I mean, anybody can compare my matches with him and let them make the decision. You're going to probably get phone calls. Charley Norris was the shits. Fuck you. You got anything else? I'm sorry. I'm getting worked up.
So you had some unpleasant experiences with Bill Dundee. You said Sabisco. In that respect, did it seem like there were people in the locker room that were just overtly prejudiced against Native Americans?
Yes. Well, I don't know what else it could have been. I tried to figure it out, man. I tried and tried to figure it out. Then we had one pay-per-view we went over, me and Shockmaster and Ice Train. We went over to Equalizer and Harlem Heat, and that kind of sucked, really. But we got over good. I worked the crowd pretty good there and did pretty good in, I think it was New Orleans I did it. And the next pay-per-view I worked, me and Stevie Ray, Big Stevie, baby.
Right.
We worked with Vader and Cactus Jack, and Vader was going to go over to Battle Bowl that night. So he was just going to destroy everybody, man. He clotheslined me, and he had my whole chest to hit me. I was taller than him. He had my whole chest for a short clothesline. He blasted me so hard in the face, it was lights out. That's the first and last time I've ever been knocked out. On a live pay-per-view, you know, everybody's seen this. It was embarrassing, man. I just couldn't get it together if you watch the match. It took me a while to gather. He was jumping on me from the ropes. I mean, he was potatoing me all. Big Stevie came in the ring, and Vader tore after him, and Big Stevie caught him with a little right uppercut and dropped Vader down to his knees, man. They were fighting right over me, man. I was like, oh, Stevie, man. Oh, man. He said, you all right? You all right? You know? And I really went in the corner. I was shaking my head. I was slapping myself. I mean, I was like, oh, my God, I can't believe this fucking happened. Where am I? And I'll never forget that. Looking at the lights, everything was coming back just slow. When I looked over at Harley and he was looking at me, man, I was like, Harley had respect because I got up. Anybody else, it would have broke their neck. And he knocked one of my teeth loose in the back and really, really fucked me up, man. I had bad concussion. Yeah. And he gave me a power bomb and he slipped. And he said that was my fault, and it wasn't. It was his. I was up there for him. But Vader just squashed me. He was jumping on me, and you know, I went back to the curtains, and Vader actually slipped a disc in his back that night. Blamed me, of course, and I went back, and he still finished battle, but he slipped his disc. He said, you should have got higher on the powerbomb. I said, dude, you slipped. What are you talking about, vanilla gorilla? So anyways, come back, and Paul Orndorff grabs me. I kind of collapsed on the floor because I was still like, man, you know, I took a good hit. If that ain't one of the top 5 clothesline potatoes in the history of wrestling, I don't know what is. So anyways, Paul Orndorff grabs me and takes me around the corner, being him. And I'm still like, having my hands on my knees bent over. I'm like, what the fuck, Paul? He's like, don't let this ruin your career. You've got a good future. Don't feel bad about this match. He said, that big motherfucker is hurting everybody. Paul didn't like him. A lot of people didn't like him. Harley didn't like him either. He's like, that motherfucker, he was hurting enhancement guys left and right everywhere. And, you know, come on, Leon, go to the MMA if you're that bad, you know. The Orndorff told me, he said, one day what comes around goes around. And Orndorff, you know, you heard about the story, and Orndorff kicked a field goal with his head, and it cost Leon $2.2 million that, you know, after he did that. Hurt his reputation throughout the world because, you know, Meltzer's going to be on it and everybody's going to be on it. So it hurt his reputation.
Now, Charlie, what I've heard is that Paul Orndorff straightened Vader out and he was wearing flip-flops. Is that true?
Yeah, he hurt his toes. I mean, come on. He knocked him clean out. Embarrassed the hell out of Leon. He got fired after that, man. You know, he did a $950,000 contract. I think he had 3 years on left or 4 years, whatever. You know, he was just a big asshole. I don't give a fuck. I'm just telling it like it is. He hurt me really bad on that. I went to one more TV taping in Orlando, and that's where I started getting jobbed out. And I knew it. I was sitting in this pool with Dory Funk Jr. Dory Funk Jr. and Marty talking, and I was like, I wanted to go to All Japan. He was really interested, and he liked my stuff. I was sitting there, and then Eric Bischoff walks up. He said, Charlie, I want you to meet in my room later. And I didn't show up, and I don't know, met a girl or something or whatever. Me and Michael Hayes went somewhere. I don't remember. But I didn't go anyway, and he really took that as a snub. And he never would talk to me again. And they called me up like 3 months later and said, can you work? And I was still hurt from that. My neck was still, I couldn't turn my head to the left after that clothesline, after what he did to me. And I said, yes, I want to work. I'll work, hurt, whatever. And then the next morning, I got a mail, and you have FedEx mail at 7 o'clock in the morning, said, you're fired, Eric Bischoff. I got that hanging on my wall, actually. That's inspiration for me. If Eric Bischoff didn't fire me, I never would have met the woman that had my daughter. And as we were shaking hands with Ted Turner's lawyers, I was shaking their hands. This is a true story. Shaking their hands, and my daughter was born at that moment. So that was God's way of telling me, and my gift for them fuckers doing that to me down there. I was humiliated. I had a hard time. I was drinking, you know, I was struggling. But that opened a whole new light. I started booking my own shows, and I made $150,000 that year. You know, I was making $15,000 a show. It was my shows. I got them. I brought Bundy in, Brunzell, Tuco Scorpio, and so on and so on and so on. Big Samu, brought him in. I paid everybody extra. and no jabronis, I didn't, no jabronis allowed in the dressing room, no, get the fuck out of here. And I ran it really well. We were doing casino shows in Wisconsin and all over the place. In Minnesota, I was really rocking, man.
Eric Bischoff, of course, you mentioned the lawsuit. Eric has gone on to comment about this, which is part of the reason we had you on.
Yes, I know. We have an NDA agreement, that stupid fucker. I could have sued him again. Why is he talking about me?
Of course, he violated it by discussing it on his podcast, so you reached out to us wanting to discuss it on here as well. So
I want to tell my side, because I always honored that NDA agreement. Yeah. I moved on with my life. That was a big relief. I could have gotten way more money. Jesse Ventura said, go for $1 million, Charlie, because your career is done. I'm like, oh, well, okay, whatever. I'm like, I didn't want to go to trial. The fucking press was at my house, and they twisted the story in the papers, and you know how they are, and I just wanted what they owed me. It was over $100,000. So my lawyer got a big cut out of it, and he was a great lawyer. He destroyed, I hate to say this, but he destroyed Ole, he destroyed Dusty, he destroyed Eric Bischoff, he destroyed Greg. Greg Gagne got up and walked out in the deposition. I hated doing that to Jody Ham. I hated doing that to all those guys, except Eric Bischoff. He lied his ass off. Greg Gagne lied his ass off during the day. Swearing on the Bible, too, come on. I just listened. I just sat back, and I'm like, you guys, if we go to court, my lawyer's going to destroy you, and we're going to get so much press out of this. I just felt that, like, these guys, I felt so bad about Dusty doing that to him and Ole, and man, I feel bad about that. But, that's the way it is, and that's the way it was. Ole told the truth, actually. He said Bischoff is the shit. And he is the shit. So.
And to be fair, and the only reason I was bringing up Bischoff mentioning this on his podcast is for anybody that hasn't listened, he said that he actually believed you were in the right and had a very good case. Mm-hmm. He believed there was some people being very
meat on the bone,
blatantly racist. Yes, he said there was meat on the bone if it did go to court. So he at least seemed to be agreeing with you on that you had basis to sue.
He was really careful. He was really careful dancing around the words. And that's whatever. I don't love him, but for my daughter, yes, he gave me the greatest gift in my life. He shouldn't be talking about this. He shouldn't be saying nothing about this. And he said, that wouldn't go over today. Why would it go over then?
Indeed, that's the question that really needs to be asked. It's a shame that it has been allowed to go on for so long. We look back and go, oh, well, that was, 20, 30 years ago. Yeah, but the behavior's still wrong, whether it's last week or 100 years ago. And so it's an interesting kind of way he spoke about it. And as I said, that's why you wanted to come on and discuss with us, was because of Eric violating the NDA. And so did that, when you guys signed that non-disclosure agreement, what year was that? Was that in 94?
We settled like the year later. They settled right away, man. They didn't want to come up here to St. Paul. This is my territory up here. They would have got humiliated in court. And I didn't want to do that to Dusty and Ole and them guys that really helped me out. Jody Hamilton, man, I love those guys. I hated that. That camp, who came out of that camp? Who made it out of that camp was a big star? Nobody, I don't think. Nobody. It was like the Marines in there, Marine fucking camp. And Jack Mulligan came up to me one day. I was getting my check, and he's like, Charlie, just go to the camp, bring your own guy and everything. And I was like, man, my heart's gone, Blackjack. My heart is gone after that match with Vader. I was humiliated. How can I come back from that, man? He was like, just quit and just go on with your career. Just get out of here. He said, these guys are stupid. He was disgusted with Bischoff, too. A lot of guys didn't like Eric Bischoff. A lot of people, most people. And it ended up in the end that he gets blamed for all of it. Bret Hart, watch his things, what he says. And a lot of guys say that, And a lot of guys got big contracts, $450, $550, $750, that they didn't deserve, And Dallas Page, who was the champion when that ship sank? He finally made it to champion. I don't think Dallas should have been the champion. Bret Hart should have been the champion or somebody. I could see the ship going down, man. Damn.
Something that needs to be talked about is at the same time that you're experiencing this discrimination, there are other people within WCW that they're suffering discrimination of color. There's sexual discrimination. If I recall correctly, Missy Hyatt was... Yeah,
Missy sued them. They treated her like shit.
Yeah.
I never seen nothing, but I heard about it. Missy was really upset, man. I felt bad for her. She was so cool.
Right, that was at the same time, wasn't it, Charlie, that you were there?
Yes, it was.
And then also the racial discrimination. The one name that comes to mind is Ranger Ross.
Yeah, Ranger Ross, he met with me in Atlanta. He said he did the same thing with them. So I didn't know about his, I didn't even know who Ranger Ross was, but he called me up. He said, let's do lunch. I'm like, let's talk about your lawsuit. And I heard, I know he was a worker or whatever, Army guy or something. Good guy, nice guy. And I don't know if he ever settled his lawsuit, but he was the first one. But mine got, everybody hated on me for that. You're dumb, and people were telling me you're stupid for doing that. I'm like, no, I'm dumb for being here, man. Eddie Sharkey called me up. He said, just quit and come back. Come back to Minnesota. He said, just quit. And I said, Eddie, I'm gonna save up for 10 weeks. I had a friend living with me, and she's fairly wealthy, and she paid all the bills. So I saved up 10, 12 weeks. I saved up almost 10 grand. And I moved back to Minnesota. And me and Brad Armstrong actually hung out almost every day in Atlanta. So you can imagine how fun that was. It was fun. I just had fun after that. I just wanted to forget it. I just stay here, a few more months of this money, and then I'm going to go home and quit. But then I got fired. And then they still paid me for 3 more months. So I saved up a little bit of money, $8 grand, $7 grand, or $70-some $100. Saved it up and come home. I had money for a little while. And then we filed a lawsuit, and they settled like a year. I think it was 96 my daughter was born. Yeah, 96. So March 7th, 1996, we settled when she was born. And I got my money that they owed me. My lawyer got his, and I paid everybody off here in Minnesota, my parents, everybody that helped me out throughout the years. And I moved to Texas. I went down to Rod Price and One Man Gang and Skandar Akbar and countless guys, good guys. They were great guys down here, man. They welcomed me in like a brother, There's no jealousy, there's nothing. And we had TV there. We had TV. I guess I drew pretty good because Grizz was the booker. He set me up really good with Rod Price, and them put me over good. Rod was wonderful. Oh, man, I love Rod. Great guy, great worker, best brother ever. And, man, we had some killer matches. I was giving him leg drags and all kinds of stuff, man. And I learned a lot from Wellington Wilkins Jr. He trained me like a shoot style and trained me a lot where I can be a shooter too, I knew a lot. I got over good down there in Dallas. There's a whole parking lot full of people after we come out, and I'm like, damn, man, this is pretty nice. People kind of know me a little bit. I was always insecure my whole life about stuff. I didn't think I'm all that, but Eric Bischoff made one comment. He said, I thought I was better than I was. Well, everybody does, Maybe I did. I don't know. Everybody did. And I knocked out Fidel Sierra. Poor Fidel. He wasn't cooperating at all, man. Macon, Georgia, TV. He had a mask on. He wasn't cooperating. He was blocking everything, just taking over, kicked me in the balls right off the bat. So I just took it home and knocked him out with a big boot, he was mad. He had come back. He had a big hunting knife in his bag. And Ole asked me, what happened? What happened? Because I took it home too early. He wasn't cooperating, He wasn't listening. So I kind of stiffed him on that. And he, it's like after that I had a bad reputation because I had that beautiful scissor kick. If there's a better scissor kick in wrestling, show me who it is. I'm not being cocky. It's a good scissor kick. I did it.
You had a real good scissor kick. And talking about that match with Fidel, I believe he wrestled under the hood as the terrorist.
Yeah. And I wrestled him I wrestled him another TV tape, and we did really well at the TV tape. And way before that, really put me over good, man. I love you, Fidel, for that.
Yes.
But I'm sorry, I'm not. Yeah. Then we watched the match. We just always, said let's watch. I said let's go watch the match. This motherfucker's gonna stab me. So, we went and watched the match, and then Ole said, "You're blocking everything. You're blocking everything, Dave. You're blocking everything," he was disgusted about it. I thought it was pretty good myself, I got a good pop, he got a good pop too, but he kicked me in the balls pretty hard, and he was hitting me those punches. I wasn't selling his punches, and he was hitting me hard too, man. But he still put me over and stuff, and Fidel's a good, solid guy. He's not, he's an enhancement guy now, or whatever he was. I don't think he's a worldwide champion or nothing, but he was a stooge too. He was a big stooge. So.
Let's get back to WCW. I'm interested in knowing, who would you rate as the biggest perpetrators here of this prejudice?
Greg Gagne especially, man. When I first got down there, Atlanta, he picked me up at the airport. Me and J.W. Storm. And he was racing. Why do I got to pick these fucking jabronis up? And I was like, looking at him. I'm looking at Jeff. I'm like, is he ribbing us or what? What the fuck? So he took us to the camp, and we had a workout match together in the ring. Me and JW and Dallas Page said, you guys should just get off and train for 6 months before your match. And he was kind of right. I would have loved to work out at that camp, but I couldn't have these guys hollering at me all day because I was going to make someone eat their fucking eyeball or stuff. I was going to fight back, I ain't going to listen to you. I'm not your crash test dummy. Come over here, Chief. This guy's got to practice a body slam. Big dude, green, nice guy. Oh my God, I landed on my hips and my fucking hips. And I said, I'm not going to be no crash test dummy. No, I'm not going to do that for you. I walked out, and I never went back. It was just like everything was directed at me all the time. And it's kind of like that. I'm an idiot magnet.
So the different agents you had some issues with.
Bill Dundee, Greg Gagne. Mike Graham was cool, man. He was an agent in Florida. I worked with Benoit. We come back that one night, we stole the show, man. I don't care. Benoit didn't know I knew all them, those reversals, belly to back, belly to belly, and all this shit, man. Oh my God, we rocked it. And we come back to the dressing room, all the boys are standing up giving us a standing ovation. I've never seen that before. I'm like, God damn. He did it all. I was all, wow, man. But I never seen all the boys stand up and clap like that, ever. Never. I've never experienced that. And it was all him, man. I hung in there with him. I kept up with him, I could go. It was great. And I thought I was doing pretty good, and working with Eaton, he was funny, man. Oh, my God. I couldn't understand him. He's a good guy. I think I was like, what? He's got that deep Alabama accent, man. Oh, God, we really killed it. I fucked up some spots, man. And we were sitting in the dressing room before the next match the next night somewhere, Florida, and he's like, what are you going to pull out of your head tonight? I'm sorry, man, And, then me and Dustin teamed up one time, got over pretty good, and then after that we never teamed up again, and that's when Ole and Dusty got demoted.
So a turning point came when creatively they wanted to, I guess you would say, stereotype your gimmick
right up
to the max, right?
Yeah, they didn't take me seriously. I asked Bischoff for, like Mark Merrill, he had a $40,000 for his outfits and stuff, and I love Mark. He's a great guy, man. What a good dude. And I want to ask Bischoff, I said, can I get a good outfit? It's hard to dance with no outfit on. I said, Indians don't dance out of anger, really. It's a celebration after the match. But I'll dance in the middle and whatever, I did their dance a couple times. I said, no, I'm going to do my dance, a Wahoo dance, simple. Pop the crowd, man. Watch the matches. Right. And they said, no, you can't dance like that. You got to dance like this. And Greg Gagne's trying to show me how to dance at the camp. And I'm like, God damn, man. And I'm like, what the hell here? Greg Gagne had a hard-on for me right off the bat. I don't know why. I have no idea why. Right when he picked us up from the airport that day, he just was mad. He was so mad. And at the camp, he was screaming at us. And J.W. Storm was like, I'm going to knock this fucker out. And J.W. Storm was a boxer. I'm like, no, don't do that, man, And I was like, just don't listen to him. I couldn't believe it, how he treated us. Me, especially, right off the bat, man. We had a PWA show. I worked main event with Adnan El Casey, and they had a show 20 miles away, Pat Tanaka and them guys. AWA, it was their last show, 20 miles away from us. We had probably almost 500 people, 600 people there, which was pretty good, They had 20 people, and that was their last show. So I think that might have been something to do with it. I don't know. If I did help them put them out of business, that's wonderful. I didn't try to hurt the guys any, the other guys working there, but they were on their last toes, AWA. That was their last house show, 20 people. We all drew them.
We discussed some of your problems with the agents. Would you say that was sort of where it ended, or did you see anything higher up the ladder? You spoke highly of people like Ole and Dusty.
Bill Dundee, I forgave him for that. He felt bad. I know he did. He come up to me, and that was horrible, though. I'm like, what the hell here? He's supposed to be encouraging me. If I'm doing something wrong, tell me. Don't scream at me. And everybody else is talking to each other, and they're going over their matches. Why me? Why am I the bad guy? Why? I couldn't understand it. I was like, oh, man. This is not the dream. The dream I thought it was going to be, Oh, shit. It was horrible. After that, I just melted. It just melted. And I knew it. I'd call Eddie Sharkey every day. Wahoo called me up. And I was like, man, can you call Bischoff and see? He said, I want to get this job down there. Man, he needs to get out of there. We talked all night on the phone. And I was like, can you come present me with your headdress? And he said, yeah, I'll do it. I'm going to call Bischoff. That was on a Friday night. And the next Monday night Raw, he was presenting his headdress to Tatanka, And like I said, I'm not going to do steroids and all that, whatever he did. I don't know. He had a great body, and I don't think he could work at all. I mean, yeah, he's mid-card, And I call Sergeant Slaughter, and I'm like, man, why don't we do an angle where I'm a rich Indian casino owner, Indian dressed up, really nice, braids on, earrings, jewelry. Why don't I come in like that as a rich casino owner? I'm going to tell the fans, I own casinos, and I'm going to buy back all the land that you stole. And Sarge loved it, And I had 2 more tryouts with WWF after that. And I didn't work. I don't remember who I worked with. I worked with Sam Houston one time, and we did good. But I just didn't. I don't know. I think I had 5 tryouts altogether with those guys. And it was, I still had, Sarge was always on my side, and he liked that idea. I said I'd get some heat, man. I wanted to be a heel. I loved it. Carmine would have been my manager. He would have been with the briefcase full of money or something. We're buying back all the land.
There you go. With Eddie Sharkey as the Godfather.
Yeah, standing there. Gangster. Right. He shot up Vern's office one time. You heard about that.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll be selling suits out back.
Yeah, he's real. Eddie Sharkey's the real deal, man.
And I think Eddie Sharkey said it best when he said that all of the Minnesota guys are truly really good guys. And Charlie, we want to thank you for coming on to Contrary to Popular Wrestling, being such a good guy, being so open, and letting us share your story, the way you saw it back in WCW in the early 90s. Thank you so much, Charlie, for coming on.
Thank you guys, man. I really appreciate it. And I get carried away sometimes, and I think about it, but, I think about it, and it just goes away when I think about my daughter. I mean, how beautiful she is, and I never would have had her if Bischoff didn't fire me. So, yeah, what are you going to do? Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thunderblood, man. I got fans in England, man. They want to buy my T-shirts. Thunderblood, baby. That's my name, Indian name. Thunderblood. Think about it. Ice running through these veins. Thanks, guys. Contrary to Popular Wrestling. I love it. I love you guys. I hope to meet you soon.
Hey, and before you get out of here, where can your fans stay in touch with you? If they want to see what you're doing now, get in touch, where can people find you on social media?
Give them my phone number. No, just kidding.
All right,
I'm on Facebook. Kenny Patera is my buddy on there, and all the Minnesota. I'm on Facebook. I don't know how to do that other stuff, social media stuff. I'm kind of illiterate when it comes to that. But I could get. I don't know. I want to get my matches, man, and I want to go around and talk to youth. These, the drugs and the problem with the youth right now with the heroin and the meth. Use my tapes and do a presentation and stuff, and look what I did. And anybody can do anything they want in life if you really focus. And I want to get these young kids off these drugs. So after my surgery tomorrow, this hernia's been bothering me for a long time. I'm going to start rocking, and I want to get my matches and show my videos and doing some presentations at high schools and everywhere all over. I can get a lot of bookings. So yeah, that's what I'm going to focus on, helping the young people out.
My brother, best of luck with the surgery.
Yes, sir.
Any friend of Eddie Sharkey is a friend of ours, and man, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Right on, brother. You guys have a good day, and I hope this podcast gets a lot of heat. I hope Dallas Page calls in and all these motherfuckers call in. Get some ratings.
Right on, brother. Thank you, Charlie.
Right on.
Wasn't that a great interview? I mean, Charlie, really, without a doubt, I think he's one of my favorite guests that we've had here on the podcast.
Well, when he wrote you a message and said that he wanted to come on and just lay it all out and tell everything, he wasn't lying. And man, what just a fascinating story, from how he got to WCW and then the whole lawsuit, even what he's looking to do once we get beyond this pandemic and further into this new year. It's a fascinating story, and Charlie, we can't thank him enough. He was a great guest, and we're going to have him back on soon because, man, he was a fun guy to talk to.
He's got a tremendous amount of heart. And I think that's really the reason why I respect him the most. let's talk about our upcoming episodes of Contrary to Popular Wrestling, shall we?
We've had a long time off. You've hit me up. You've had a lot of ideas. You've said, we've got to tell the audience. We've got to let them know what we're going to be doing. And so now you get to lay your ideas out there.
Here we go. First of all, we'll be having DC Mad Dog Drake on, which will be actually, the second time that we actually interviewed him.
The third. We lost the second audio too, yeah.
That will be the next episode of Contrary to Popular Wrestling. DC Mad Dog Drake, if you're not familiar, an opponent of Bruiser Brody's, of course, and a big component of the NWF, one of the original independent wrestling promotions in the Northeast and Jersey, that came prior even to like Joel Goodhart's Tri-State Wrestling Association. So, and of course, Goodhart was prior to ECW. I had to make that relation there. Anyway, and that I believe that is the proper progression. Wouldn't you agree?
I would have to agree. I think that's the right build down, the NWF and TWA and then ECW. So I think we got that right.
Essentially, yeah. The first independent, and that was actually one of the first wrestling shows that I attended, independent wrestling shows that I attended was in Bricktown, New Jersey in 1987, which was the first NWF show, and that was the big TV taping with Brody and Abby and DC Drake and so on, and I happened to be in attendance of that, and you can actually see me like kneeling around the ring taking photos. But yeah, that was a memorable night. That was in Bricktown, New Jersey. I'll never forget that. Anyway, you can look forward to hearing DC Mad Dog Drake here on the podcast. Also, there is this new organization. It's a cool thing. It's a combination of social group, but then there's also, it's like, how would you describe it?
Well, a mutual friend of ours, Rich Bocchini, formerly known as Rich Brennan in the WWE, he was talking the other day about finding a trade group for wrestling, and I sent WrestleConnect's link to him, and I said, this is as close as you're going to find. It's a wrestling trade group. It helps those of us who are independent contractors within the wrestling industry find things like healthcare, life insurance, which can be very difficult to get if you explain to your insurer what you do. It also helps get hotel discounts, deals on car rentals, and so much more. It's like the ultimate trade group for people in professional wrestling, whether you're a top star or loading in the ring.
And of course, it's being headed up by Howard Brody, a good friend of mine, former president of the NWA, very well-respected Jew in our business.
Oh, now we're getting heat.
He's one of,
it ain't just Charley Norris getting heat.
Back to Brooklyn, okay? And he really is. He is a great man, and he's a great friend. And actually, we're going to have him on, Howard Brody. And we'll be discussing WrestleConnects, and I'm really excited for it, and I think it's something that the business needs. I think it's something that the boys need, and they need to take advantage of this, and it's something that if you're in the wrestling business, you really, really need to listen to this episode. And I think also there's some talk we might also have some guests along with him that are supporting this whole cause. Possibly even J.J. Dillon will be on that episode as well. Another episode, I have wanted to speak with Hustler Rip Rogers here on the air for some time. And of course, Rip, he had a great career in the business. Notwithstanding that, one of the greatest trainers that the business has ever seen. I mean, with OVW and so on, he's created and started a lot of careers. And he's got a lot of interesting stories to tell. He also has a book out on the market that we'll talk about. And I just think that Hustler Rip Rogers, one of the unsung heroes of wrestling. If you ever turned on WCW back in the day and you saw Hustler Rip Rogers was on it, you knew it was going to be a decent match. It was something that you didn't want to miss. And I think that, he's really a tribute to the business. So we're going to have him on. And then another Rogers, if you will, with the new biography of the Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers, written by Tim Hornbaker and Scott Teal. We're going to have both Tim and Scott on to talk about Buddy Rogers. And the plan is to also have on some other luminaries, if you will, to speak about Buddy Rogers. Now, also this book. This book is just unbelievable. It's fantastic. I mean, you can check it out now at crowbarpress.com. The biography of Buddy Rogers is actually number 4 on wrestling books sold on Amazon. So, yeah, Buddy Rogers is now becoming a hot topic. What do you think about that, James?
I think it's about time, because not many people realize that Buddy Rogers, we talk about Gorgeous George setting the standard for the flamboyance in wrestling, but almost every modern wrestling heel has to thank Buddy Rogers, because he did everything that most heels have stolen since then on down. And so it's great.
I spoke to Buddy Rogers personally back in 1986, and I brought up Gorgeous George to him, and Buddy said that he bleached his hair before Gorgeous George. He told me that personally. So, and that he did essentially that gimmick before Gorgeous George. He told me that personally on the phone. I mean, one of the greatest innovators and pioneers in the business ever. And Buddy Rogers is responsible for how a modern day wrestling match is presented, psychology-wise. One of the most important figures in the business, and also a very controversial figure as well. But we'll talk about that on the Buddy Rogers Show. And also another great book written by a referee pal of mine from New York, Dave Dwinell, who has worked with everybody from the NWA, the WWF. He worked the Garden. He refereed matches, main event matches throughout the Northeast. Has this great book called The Ring Man. And he's an old friend of mine. I think you're really going to enjoy this story. Anybody that is a wrestling fan from the Northeast, from the New York, Connecticut, New Jersey area, are really going to enjoy this. How he got in the business is very interesting. He just basically applied for the spot with the State Athletic Commission, and that's how he got in. There was no training. It's a politically, essentially, in one way or another, type of spot. It's really interesting. I think everybody's going to enjoy that. And a very, very well-liked fellow in the New York area, Dave Dwinell. And also, a fantastic book that I know that you have liked in particular is the Lance Von Erich book, written by Vincent Berry.
Yes, Lance by Chance, I've been reading up. It's a great book. It's fascinating. His whole career, I'd always been fascinated by how the Lance Von Erich storyline came about, but there is so much more to Lance Von than I ever knew. It's a really interesting book. I encourage everybody to pick it up, and I can't wait to have Vince on the show to talk about the book with us. It's a fascinating read.
It really is. I mean, if you're a fan of world-class wrestling and the Von Erichs, I mean, there's some really tasty tidbits in there, some really juicy stories. Definitely well worth the read. We're going to have Vince on as well. I'm very excited about what we have coming up.
It's a new year, and we are excited to be bringing new content to you. We were gone for a little while, but you can't keep us down. We're back, and if you want to stay in contact with us, you can find us on social media. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/contrarypod. That's where you can give us a like and stay up to date with the show. We're always posting photos or updates on new episodes. That's where we were keeping you updated during our sabbatical as we were facing many challenges from Mother Nature and technology. You can like us on there. You can also send us an email at contrarypod@gmail.com, contrarypod@gmail.com. Be sure and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube, where you can see the videos we put together with photos, videos, newspaper clippings, and more to go along with each episode. Be sure and give us a like and a thumbs up. or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. It helps us a bunch and helps us continue to bring new content to you. Carmine, you got anything to say before we wrap things up?
Folks, thank you for all your support thus far. But, not for nothing, you could hit that thumbs up there, when you pull up the show on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up. That really does help us here. We're still trying to get this thing to take off, and I really appreciate everybody's support. Both James and I really do enjoy doing this podcast. So let's continue it. Let's keep it going, guys. And any ideas that you have about upcoming episodes, or if you have any questions regarding any of the upcoming episodes that I spoke about, simply send us an email. Be happy to address them and give you a shout out here on the air. So thank you very much for your support, guys.
Definitely. If it weren't for you guys, we'd just be sitting here talking into the abyss. So seriously, thank you guys so much. And it does help when you give us a like on Facebook or on YouTube, a thumbs up or a 5-star rating. It gets more people to seeing us and hearing us, and thus we can continue bringing more contrary to popular wrestling. So, without further ado, until next week's folks, we will see you back here on Contrary to Popular Wrestling.